Okay, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Posture and Flexibility for Joint Health, Lower Body. Like I said just a moment ago, I hope you're ready because we're gonna move at a pretty good pace today and try to get a lot of things in, things you're familiar with, and some things to build off of the last session, which were new in terms of internal, external rotation. But we're gonna get the hip flexors, the inner thighs, the rotators. So let us begin. Bring your awareness into your feet. And as you do that, just start stacking those joints. Center of the pelvis from the side over your ankle. Suspend that rib cage upward. Reach your head nice and tall. And then begin to relax into this posture as much as you can. Relax the shoulders down. Relax the thighs, relax the glutes, relax your lower belly. Again, as much as you can. You're not letting everything totally relax, or you would start to drift into your default posture. But now begin to breathe intentionally into your pelvis. So one hand on the front, one hand on the back, and bring in as much space between your hands as you can with each inhale. And with each exhale, begin to draw up that energy from the base of your pelvis up towards your head on the exhale. On the inhales, space. Long inhale, long exhale, exhale, drawing the energy up. All right, good. Let's start waking up those toes and feet. So flex those toes up, come onto your foot tripod, that balance inside, outside, front to back. And see if you can just now get the outer toes, like pinky toe, fourth and third maybe, but keep that first, at least keep the first toe up, maybe you can keep the second toe up. Now get 4 toes down, keep the big toe up. And relax the big toe down. See if you can get the outer 4 toes up. Big toe down. Hold, take a nice expansive breath into your pelvis. Exhale, draw that energy up. All right, relax all toes down for just a moment. Let's flex the toes up now. And we're gonna practice our foot spiral, which will activate core muscles in the hip complex especially. So think about drawing those heels together energetically. It's subtle. There's a little bit of turning out of the thighs, but not much. You can just kind of feel like you're screwing your feet into the ground a bit. Now, keep that spiraling energy in place and relax your toes down. And from this position, I'm going to turn a side view for you, but we're going to hold that anchoring in the feet and hinge at the hips. Okay, so as you hinge here, you can just think about your pubic bone going inward and then your pubic bone coming forward. We're trying to create just a pure movement of anterior rotation of the pelvis. Check in with your feet. You've got a little bit of that spiraling energy, locking them in place. Your toes may be slightly engaged here, but don't be super duper grippy with the toes. And just keep doing this hinging movement. Going to where you feel the stretch start to build in the back of the legs. So my knees are slightly bent, but not very much. Now I'm going to, I feel a stretch start to build up through here. If I keep going, then I would be rounding my back because my hamstrings would be maxed out. So let's go now into a hinge. And we're just gonna hold for a moment. Hold yourself in place, try to activate those hip flexors. So think about pulling yourself a little deeper through the activation of the hip flexor, drawing the femurs up into the pelvis. Building that tension of those hip flexors in this hinge position. And now press through all 3 major points in the foot to come back up. And shake that out for a moment. All right, let's do some standing foot circles. So standing on one leg, point and flex. Sorry, we'll get to foot circles. Pointing and flexing. Try to be as straight as you can and tall as you can on the standing leg. Check that you've got good balance in that foot tripod. Inside, outside now. And circles. And reverse. Good. Switch sides, other foot. Start with your pointing and flexing. Take a nice expansive breath into the entirety of your pelvis. And as you exhale, draw the energy up towards your head. Inside and outside. And circles. Keep going. I'm going to make a slight adjustment to my camera angle here. Get a little bit more of my legs into this. Good. So finish up with circling a few times one way and the other if you haven't done that yet. And relax. Good. All right, let's step 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, but start with more weight on the back foot initially. Front knee is straight. You relax that front knee and we'll circle over the foot. Think about the kneecap drawing a circle over the foot. And as you do this, just become aware of the sensation of the foot as the weight circles across the foot. So you can let that ankle kind of roll in and out as the circle happens above it. So in other words, be relatively relaxed at your ankle joint. And I reversed that circle. I didn't instruct you to do so. Go ahead and reverse it. Good, and let's switch. Can start in either direction. We'll go the other way after 4 or 5. And again, bring your awareness into your foot. Try to let the ankle be relaxed. And allow that weight to have a big shifting all across the foot. We're going to circle the other way now. Good, and relax. All right, let's do hip circles, femur circles. Pelvis stays in place. Nice and tall. Keep the knee straight. Lock out the ankle by flexing the foot up. So you're very stiff through the leg below the hip. Go the other way. So again, knee is totally extended. Foot is flexed up. And go out to the side. Same thing. 4 to 5 in each direction. Take a nice expansive breath into the base of your core. Draw the energy up on the exhale, growing taller as you breathe out. Good, and behind you, straight knee, foot flexed up, and reverse. And relax. Shake it out for a moment if you need to, especially that side that was standing all that time. And let's switch it up. Knee is straight, ankle is locked out with the foot flexed up. And you're staying as tall as you can, holding on to something if you need to. I needed to there for a moment. Switch it up if you haven't yet. Good, out to the side. Long inhale, long exhale. Reverse if you haven't yet. And relax. Shake it out if you need to. Then go to the other position, leg behind you. Stay nice and tall. In this position, keep those lower abs well engaged so that we don't overextend the lower back. Reverse. And relax, shake it out. All right, so let's go side to side. So these muscles that are getting stretched here as we do this are the ones that we're doing for your biggest workhorses while you were standing on one leg. So see if you can feel it go far enough to feel a little bit of stretch, the outer hip area. Good, let's go to one side, just kind of rest into it, take an inhale into this area. As you exhale, see if you can sink out a little bit more. And same thing to the other side. Kind of go to where your initial stretch stops you, resting into this hip. Inhale into this area. Exhale, see if you can sink a little bit more into it. Good. All right, so hip hiking. One side goes up, that knee is straighter on that side, the other knee is more bent to let the pelvis drop down, and then you switch. And we're trying to stay in a narrow column with this, minimizing the side to side shifting like we just did a moment ago. Good, okay. Stirring the pelvis over the feet. And reverse. Good, okay, we're gonna do anterior, posterior with the pelvis, and lower back's gonna move with that. Everything else is gonna stay in place. Knees can be soft, maybe slightly bent here. All right, so drop the front of your pelvis down and then pull it up, down, up. As you're doing this, bring your awareness, keep going, but just bring your awareness to this area right here, front of the hip, upper groin, and just imagine that this area is supporting you in both directions. Depending on which muscles we're looking at, there are muscles right in this area that are involved with creating movement in both directions, or one direction or the other. Okay, back to hip hinges, which we did a version of earlier. We're just going to come more upright and go into a little bit of hip extension. So bowing forward, so you feel that stretch start to build through the back of the legs. Leaning back, nice and engaged through the front of the core, especially lower core, and continue. Go ahead and flex those toes up. Keep them flexed up for these next few repetitions. Finding that balance on that foot tripod, inside, outside, front to back. Good, and relax. Check it out if you need to. Okay, going to work on really turning on these internal, external rotators of the hip in a standing position. So have something to hold on to. And we're gonna, you've got two ways you can do this. If you're holding on to something, then you probably can just get the leg that's working completely off the floor, but we're going to turn all the way out and all the way in. You can be pivoting off your heel if you want to feel a little more stable. But if you've got something to hold on to, you feel pretty stable, then you can have this foot lifted off the floor just a bit. Go slow with this, trying to get as far as you can in each direction, keeping the pelvis square to the front throughout. So when you turn the foot out, try not to turn the swing out with the pelvis, so that we really isolate that external rotation of the femur only without the pelvis going with it, which would diminish the amount of movement strictly in the hip joint. Okay, switch sides. Same thing, turning out, in, going slow enough to be able to tell that you've gone as far as you can with each repetition. Good. Now we're going to go back to the first side. We're just going to do longer holds now. So we're going to get to that in range, and you're just going to keep making effort to keep going in that direction. All right. So let's start with internal. So that's my thigh, knee, foot turning inward, keeping my pelvis square to the front, not letting my pelvis rotate to that side. All right. So I get to this in range, and I'm just so you know, my knee is locked out right now. Everything's real stiff through the leg, and I'm just making a lot of effort to keep turning this thigh and knee inward. And as I hold this, I'm feeling a little bit of increase, certain moments where it just gets a little bit further, and relax. Let's do the same thing on the other leg now. So internal rotation, stand nice and tall in the standing leg, find this internal rotation. You can lock out the knee. If you really stiffen the knee, it'll just help, again, drive all the activation of moving muscles into the hip. And you get to that in range and just keep working it. And relax. Good. Take it out if you need to. Let's do a little bit of side to side here, stretching out those muscles. Okay, so back to the first leg, and we're going to externally rotate as much as you can. Knee is straight. Got my foot flexed up here. And again, this is important. Keep that pelvis square to the front. If you don't check in with that, chances are you're going to be rotating through the pelvis out to the side. Just want the leg turning out, not the pelvis. Get to that in range and just keep making effort. And relax. Switch sides. Turn the thigh, knee, foot out. Keep that pelvis square to the front. I was doing there what I've been saying not to do. I was letting this happen. I wasn't checking in, and sure enough, I was turning out with my pelvis. And relax. All right. Let's do a few squats here. Just take these hip muscles in a totally different direction. Free them up a bit from what we just did. So arms out or across, and slowly down and up. We'll do anywhere from 5 to 8 repetitions. I want you to have your awareness in your feet. Maybe do a few repetitions with your toes flexed up, with the goal to be to drop your weight evenly through all points of the feet. Dropping your weight evenly through the foot. Feel some metatarsals, first toe to fifth toe, everything's balanced. You can relax your toes down if you want to now, but otherwise keep all the balance the same through the foot. Good, let's go down and hold for just a moment. It's gonna do it, go to a depth that you'll be able to breathe and hold yourself here. Check in with the weight front to back. Try to get it balanced front to back and the feet. And very slowly push through all points in the feet. Equal pressure. Come up. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And relax. All right. We're going to grab a chair here. We'll go ahead and we've kind of been zipping through this, so I'll give you a break for about 60 seconds. And then when you come back, have your chair set so that you're right in front of the camera. Let's resume. Okay, so you're going to sit towards the front of your chair. And we're going to work on activating these hip flexors first. So you can let that pelvis kind of roll back and let the lower back round out in this position with your feet about hip width apart, maybe not quite as wide as your shoulders. Let the knees kind of just relax out, and you're in this round back position. And you're going to think about pulling yourself up right here to the front of the hip. So right here where the psoas attaches to the femur, pull yourself forward from here, as opposed to, and I'm just, so you know, I'm going continually through this movement, so just kind of get into a rhythm with it for now. But as opposed to lifting yourself up by arching your back, if you really work those back muscles, they'll start pulling you up and over. So we want to keep that back relaxed right now, and use these muscles right here in the front of the pelvis to pull you forward and up. So you just come all the way up to nice and vertical on top of your sits bones. All right, and relax. All right, let's stretch the psoas. So just spin around so that you're side facing in your chair. One butt cheek will be, and side of the pelvis will be on the chair. The other is completely off. And with your weight leaning towards the back of the chair, you scoot this outside leg back behind you, and then come up over it. And we're looking to start to feel some stretch here through the front of the leg, hopefully up in the groin area particularly. But if you're super tight in your quads relative to up here, you may be feeling more down in the mid or lower thigh. But in any case, just come upright now, engage the core, so draw yourself nice and tall, zip everything up internally, lifting tall, suspending the rib cage, reaching through the back of the head upward, and then just hold the position and breathe. Breathing right here into the front of the pelvis where you're opened up. To get a little bit more stretch in this position, you can think about letting that femur relax down. So the femur is a big thigh bone. You can think about it dropping out of the hip down towards the floor. Just like it dropping out of the hip socket. That'll add stretch here as well. Okay, let's slowly come out of this by leaning away, spinning around, and we'll do the same thing. So get set up with the weight leaning towards the back of the chair, so there's no weight on this leg as you set it back. As you come upright, really activate your core and suspend yourself upward. Okay, you'll hold that throughout the stretch as you now breathe into the front of the pelvis. And on those exhales, you can think about letting the femur drop out of the hip socket towards the floor. Good. Okay, spin back around to the front. So now we're going to work hip flexors and external rotator muscles of the posterior hip together. So come initially to this cross leg position and sit up as upright as you can. If you're rounded backwards just a little bit, that's okay. Another way to counter that, though, instead of rounding the back, is to walk the front foot forward, which will drop the leg down here, and that'll allow you to sit up a little higher. So you can kind of figure out this leg, how far out the foot is in front of you or right underneath the knee. The more stretch, the more the foot's under here, the more stretch you'll have back here. All right, so from this position, what I'm going to do is going to start pushing this knee down just with the effort of the hip alone. And I'm going to hold on the chair for some support here. I'm going to lean back just a little bit and start walking this front foot forward. And now I'm going to see if I can hold this leg pretty much where it was while this one was still supporting it. So I'm trying to take this knee down and I'm trying to bring this foot up. I'm trying to do this, but I'm using only hip muscles. All right, so as activation right in here in the front of the hip, a lot happened in the back. And slowly relax that foot down. Now let's stretch the posterior hip by pushing knee and foot towards the floor, hinging forward and starting to drive your weight into the back of the hip. As you lean forward, you're just kind of subtly angling your weight. So for me, I find that I push through the front foot to drive myself back into the opposite hip, just a little bit as I hinge forward. I'm just going to hold and breathe. I'm going to keep pushing down to the floor with the stretched leg from knee to ankle, pushing down. And now I'm going to push myself up slowly. And let's uncross that leg and switch to the other side. So cross the leg over. And we're going to do the same thing here. In terms of sit upright, you need to walk the foot out so you can be more upright, do that. And you're going to think about pushing this leg down first, this knee towards the floor. And now you're going to walk this front foot out a little more and see if you can suspend this leg close to where it was. It's going to drop down probably a bit, but I'm trying to get this ankle up towards the ceiling and this knee down. But it's the hip flexors in here and the posterior hip muscles out here where all of that work's really happening from. Of course, my core is very engaged right now to support me. All right, lower that leg back down. Now we're going to stretch it. All right, so nice and tall to begin. Try to keep the back straight as you hinge forward. Push through that front foot a little bit to drive your weight into the back, into the hip of the opposite side. And just keep pushing down. So again, knee, ankle, everything's pushing down towards the floor right now. I'm just holding and breathing well. And I'm going to push through the leg to come upright. Good. All right, so now we're going to do some more activation for those internal rotator muscles. So we'll stay upright, but we're not, last time I let you sag the back. We're going to adjust that this time. So we're going to stay nice and tall on those sits bones. I want you to get an internal rotation, the alignment such that your thigh, so your knee, is pretty much straight out in front of the hip. So as opposed to, I don't want it way in here, don't want it way out here. Just so the foot's going to be out here, but that thigh needs to be pretty much coming straight forward out of the hip. And from sitting upright, you're just going to let that leg, you're going to actively roll it in as much as you can. So that you're trying to turn this femur inward and down towards the floor. And just you'll get to an in-range position and just keep trying to turn it in, just like we did when we were standing, but we're seated now. Good. All right. Whatever position you've gotten to, we're going to brace there with the hands. And I'm going to try to push out of this, but I'm going to keep myself in place. So you can lean forward a bit if you need to reach, but you could just be anywhere on this outer thigh here. You don't have to be all the way down at your knee. Just pin this leg in, try to push it out, hold and relax. And now take the hands away. See if you can get internally just a little bit more now. I certainly am able to after the activation of outward. Okay. Come out of that slowly. And same thing on the other side now. So just check that you're sitting nice and tall on your sits bones. Get this leg, get this foot out here and the knees bent. The femur. And you'll get to an inward point and just keep working it. Keep working it. Okay, now you're going to brace yourself in that position with your hands and you're trying to push out of it. So trying to push up and out, but holding the position you achieved initially. Keep pressing. Take the hands away, go in the other direction, forward and turn. So you can get a little bit more in and down with the thigh. And slowly come up out of that. Good job, good job. Told you it was going to be a lot today. So we're going to keep going. We've got some more exercises to do to finish up a whole one round through, and we'll see how far we get into the second go round with all these. Just checking my list here. All right, so yeah, we're going to really scoot forward to the front of the chair. Go nice and wide here with the thighs, and then start hinging forward. Keeping the back straight, just go to whatever point you feel like you're maxing out your, getting close to your in range anyway. Again, always no strain or pain here, but you're going to get to the in range. You're just going to take a nice breath into the pelvis, breathe all the way into the base of your pelvis. Exhale, maybe you can sink a little bit further. Now, bracing your arms, hands, against the legs, push the legs inward. So you're trying to bring your knees towards each other, but they're locked in place. And exhale, sink a little bit deeper into it if you can. Push the knees a little wider with your arms if you can. Now, whatever point you've gotten to, press the legs against the arms again as you come up. So we're keeping that tension in the thighs as we come up. Good. All right, let's stand up now. Everything up until now has been more of isolated body area, or isolated muscle groups, I should say. Most everything's been really focused on the hips, but now we're going to integrate the foot, stability, ankle, knee with the hip. So for this, what we're going to do is get the weight forward, get 1 foot forward. I'm on the balls of the feet of my back foot. Most of my weight's on the front foot. My knee is slightly bent, right? And my knee's basically over or just behind my ankle, okay? I'm not way out here. All right, so now I'm going to hinge at the hip, keep this weight in the foot tripod, make sure that you particularly don't lose that contact either too much on the inside or outside of the foot, so I'm well balanced on my foot tripod. And now I'm going to rotate my pelvis. I'm going to turn my upper body out. So my right leg is forward. I'm turning my upper body chest to the right and trying to keep good contact through the inside of the foot especially, right? So, and I'm holding on, now I'm holding on to something over here. So by all means, hold on. Just see how far out you can get rotated to the side, and we're just gonna hold this position. Check in with the foot, make sure you've got good contact through the inside of the foot, that you're not rolling to the outside. Overall, it should be balanced in the foot. And slowly come up and out of that. And we're gonna switch sides. So see if you can get to a position, again, where knee is over or slightly behind ankle with the knee slightly bent. You can be on the balls of the back foot and hinge forward first until you feel that stretch to the back of the hamstrings of your front leg, and then start turning your upper body to the outside. Now, I didn't say this on the other side, but this is important. Don't let the hips sag out. I did say keep that weight on the inside of the foot, especially if you do that, it should keep your hip from sagging out to the side. If the weight rolls more to the outside of the foot, your hip's going to start poking out there with that. So just holding this position, come out of it if you need to. Otherwise, you're turning that chest away and slowly come up and out of that. Let's do that again on the other side. So knees slightly bent, holding on to something for some support. Hinging at the hips, sending the butt back till you feel those hamstrings of the front leg really load up. Check in that you've got good foot tripod balance, especially that you're not rolling to the outside too much. As you turn here, turn to the outside with the chest, and keep alternating your awareness between what's going on in your foot and keeping good activation and balance down there, and the rotation through the upper body. And come up out of that slowly. Switch to the other side. So you just hinge straight forward, sending the butt back. So you feel those hamstrings load up. Then check your foot balance. Turning to the outside over that front leg. Keeping the pelvis from hip from poking out to the side here. It's going to be out there just a little bit, but don't let it just sway or really sag outward. And come out of that slowly. All right, good. Let me do a quick time check here. See where we're at. Okay, we're doing good. All right, now we're going to take a nice wide stance here. And then we're going to take one leg, one foot, and just turn it out completely at whatever, like horizontal line in front of you. The foot straight out to the side. Okay. So now check your foot tripod balance and that foot, well, inside outside weight distribution. Right now the weight's going to be more in the heel. All right, but you're going to start bending that knee, bringing your weight out over the foot here. You can be holding on to something for some support. Okay. And I'm hinged at the hips a decent amount, but a lot of bend in this knee. Just go to whatever point you feel like this leg can support you. And then what you're going to do is try to take the knee back, but I'm going to brace it with my hand. So I'm taking this hand, putting it on the outside of this knee. Switch around here for you. And I'm trying to push it out that way, blocking it with this hand. And your hips should be relatively square to the front. So, and press through that leg to come up. Turn the foot back in a bit, so it's kind of more of the diagonal out. Take the other foot out, straight out to the side. And hinge at the hips first a little bit, bow over, shift your weight to this leg, the outside, the foot that's pointed straight out. And get good balance in the foot tripod. Then take the hand on that side of the body, put it to the outside of the thigh or knee. Try to push the knee back behind you, but hold it in place. So as you push it out, you're activating those external rotators. You may feel muscles around the outer hip area or glutes firing up. And press to that foot to come up. Let's go back to the other side now. Turn this leg all the way out. Drop your weight over this foot. Get balance in the foot tripod of the weighted leg, the bent knee leg. Then try to take the knee further behind you, turning it back, but brace it, hold it in place with your hand. So this way we keep good alignment here, but we activate those external rotators. And straighten up. Turn this foot back in a bit. Turn the other one completely out. Hinge at the hips as you shift your weight over that foot. And get the balance on the foot tripod, particularly the inside-outside of the foot. And then try to push the knee back behind you, but resist it with your hand. Good. And come up out of that. Good. Let's go to the chair. Let's take this 7 or 8 exercise series from the top. Okay. So my knees are kind of just splayed out. I let the pelvis tuck under. I let my lower back round. And I sit up, thinking about using the energy of the front of the hips to pull me up. And then I lower back down under control. Let you see this from the side. Round back to upright. Slouch to upright. Okay, relax for just a moment. We're going to do a few more of those. We're just going to add another element here. So hands on top of the thighs, stiffen your shoulders and elbows, pressing down. Okay. And as you draw yourself up, as you did a moment ago, you're also trying to lift your legs up, but they're locked in place. Okay. So think about pushing your knees up as you come into this upright position. Keep the knees trying to push up into the hands as you roll back. So back, anterior and posterior with the pelvis. Whole time knees are pushing up into the hands. Good, and relax. So as stretch, so as hip flexors, lean back, step the leg back, and come up upright. Really focus on being nice and tall here. Just spin all that upper body upward. Breathe into the front of the pelvis. As you inhale, if you want to make this a more active, challenging stretch, you can do the activations. You can think about swinging your leg, pulling your legs forward on the inhale. On the exhale, you can think about letting the femur drop out down towards the floor. Inhale would be like the femur pulling upward into the socket and also trying to swing forward. So like that, up and forward would be the activation of the stretch leg. You can relax everything kind of downward after that. Okay, slowly come out of that. Switch it around. Stepping back, suspending your upper body nice and tall. And again, either just breathe, hold the position and breathe, and on the exhales, let the femur sink away, or add in the activation on the inhales where you try to pull the femur up into your hip socket as you would also swing, kick or swing your knee forward. And then you relax it down and out on the exhale. And slowly come out of that. All right, so cross the leg over. And we'll a little bit more quickly go into this one since I gave a lot of explanation the first time. I'm sitting upright. I'm trying to rotate my knee down towards the floor and trying to pick my ankle up towards the ceiling. So I'll slowly remove the support of this leg and just suspend myself in this cross leg position without any support. Now, you've probably leaned back a little bit here. That's okay. You could be using your hands on the chair to support you as well. But otherwise, focus on the hip flexors and the external rotators that are supporting this leg in this position. Slowly lower it down. Good. Come more to an upright position where you can start to stretch this hip. Hinge forward, pushing as you're pushing this whole leg down towards the floor. So knee, ankle, pushing towards the floor till you feel a nice stretch. Angle your weight into the back of that hip. And breathe into the base of the pelvis as you hold this position. Just sinking into it a little bit more with each exhale. Stay active through the pressure downward the whole time. Breathing. Exhales deep into it a bit more. And push yourself up through the leg. Come upright. Switch sides. So this is where we're trying to take this knee down to the floor and the foot ankle up like this. But I've got to figure out how to suspend it with my muscles alone. So when you're suspended, once you're there, just kind of think about that angling of the thigh, knee downward, foot upward, and relax. Come to a supported position and more upright. Start pressing down with the whole leg that's crossed over, down towards the floor, hinging forward, driving the weight into the back of that hip socket. Just find your initial point to pause and breathe. Breathe into the base of the pelvis, right to the back of that hip joint. As you exhale, see if you can sink a little bit more into it. Keep the downward pressure of the leg the whole time. Come out of this at any point if you feel like you need to. Otherwise, you're just going to hold for a nice long stretch here. Several breath cycles. Always pushing down with the leg. I've not relaxed this leg the whole time. Push through that leg to drive yourself up. And relax. Shake it out for a moment if you need to. All right. So let's go with this wide position here. And we're going to sink forward. I'm pushing, so right now I'm pushing out on my thighs as I sink forward until I feel a stretch somewhere in the inner thigh groin area and need to stop. I'm going to take a nice breath into the base of my pelvis. On my exhale, I'm going to see if I can sink a little bit more down and or push the knees a little wider. And from this position, I'm going to activate. I'm going to push the knees in against my hands. And now I'm going to try to take the knees out the opposite way. So I'm trying to pull my knees apart actively, not even pushing with my hands now. It's all effort of your hips alone. And push the hands against the knees again. Brace legs against hands, pushing against each other as you come up. Good. Let's go into the internal rotation now. So I need to step the foot out with the knee bent and just rock the leg in and get the straight line through here, hip to through the thigh, straight line. And now from this position, I'm going to make extra effort to turn the leg down towards the floor. So rotating, internal rotation here. I get to that end range as far as I can go initially, and I just keep making effort. I keep activating these muscles in this end range. What's the initial end range? And seeing if I can get a bigger end range. Now we're gonna push out, take your hands outside the thigh, push out, push out, push out, and take the hands away and go back to what you did a moment ago, just trying to turn back in now. Just, again, effort to turn in, and there I go. I'm feeling suddenly something's releasing. I'm getting further, and good. Other side. Step the foot out, get this alignment of thigh straight out from the hip. Take the leg down and in as much as you can actively. No assistance from your hands. Keep working that in range. Brace the hands now. Try to push out. Push the thigh against the hands. Keep pushing. And relax. Take the hands away. Go back the other direction, turning in a little bit further. Breathing well. Staying tall through the upper body. Good. All right. Come up out of the chair. Let's do these integration movements now. Graduating from isolated muscle groups to entire kinetic chain from the foot up into the hip, working together. All right, so first one is this split stance on the balls of the back foot. And I'm going to hinge forward till I feel those hamstrings load up. And I'm going to start rotating my upper body to the outside. And this time I'm going to make an effort to do more internal rotation, meaning I'm going to take my knee and keep trying to pull it inward, like I'm bringing more and more weight to the inside of my foot. So my knees, my thighs trying to turn in, and I'm trying to turn out with my upper body. And hold on to something here. Hold the position. And press up out of that. Switch it around. Other side. So at first, just balancing the foot tripod as you get into the position. Start turning away. As you turn your upper body to the outside, roll the knee, thigh inward, opposite direction. So that's putting more weight on the inside of my foot than the outside. And I'm taking my pelvis in a completely opposite direction of where it typically goes when my thigh is turning this direction. So we're getting your hip into positions it's not used to being in so we can free it up a lot more than it's used to being freed up. And come up out of that. Wide stance. Turn one foot all the way straight out. That's the leg you're going to move over. Okay, sinking into that leg. And now, now we're trying to take the weight more to the outside of the foot. So just see how far you can get weight on the outside of the foot by turning the thigh outward. Once you get into whatever your deepest initial position is, you just turn your attention to externally rotating the thigh. Now my weight's going to the outside of the foot. All right, hold this, hold, And press up out of it. Turn the other foot out. Bring the first foot more at a diagonal. Butt goes back, bend the knee. Find a position of some stretch, probably for the inner thigh here. And then try to roll the weight to the outside of the foot, turning the knee, thigh outward. And come up out of that as you're ready. And there you go. I think we packed more into that class than we had any other. So congratulations on keeping up. I think we got in just under time here. Yeah, 10:29. So good job today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And I will turn it over to Marty. Marty, you probably want to give folks a few minutes to
Oh yeah, no problem.
turn around.
Right.